We are continuing our discussion on Navagrahas from where we left off in the previous slides. We are going to examine the sunrise, Surya and Chandra in this slide. Okay? And, okay. Lagna and Sunrise. Okay, I was talking about the Lagna moving at 4 minutes per degree of longitude. 4 minutes per degree of longitude movement that I was talking about is an approximate movement, and that this approximation is brought about because of the circular motion that has been created out of the elliptical motion. Actually, the earth moves around the sun in an elliptical motion, and so the signs are of different lengths actually. Now, when we convert this into a circle, that's what our brain does. It converts. It says the earth is going around the sun. The around the sun becomes round. You see, that's how it changes. The brain starts thinking of the earth going round and round around the sun. So it's a circular motion. And in the circular motion, it starts thinking that everything is equal. All the houses are equal. And it's giving about 2 hours for each sign to rise. This 2 hour per sign is not really Lagna, because the real Lagna could be slightly more than 2 hours or slightly less than 2 hours. You know, the shorter ones, the shorter duration ones, which are faster, are less than 2 hours. The slower ones take more than 2 hours. And now, because of this, we have this Bhava Lagna. Bhava, the word Bhava itself means that which is conceived of by the head, and that which is envisioned by the brain. It's a compartmentalization of the brain, in which the brain is creating something into a compartment. And so we have 12 such compartments created by the brain, and everything is put inside these 12 compartments. These 12 compartments are called bhavas. Now, there are different ways in which bhavas are created. Why are bhavas created in different ways? Because different brains think differently. One is that which is natural, that which is true, and other is how we think, how the individual's brain could be thinking about something which may not be 100% right. You see my point?
Yes.
When no two human beings can have perfectly the same image of any particular thing in their mind. We all have a different view. And that subtle different views is bound to happen because of the bhava. Now, from this bhava comes the concept of hora, the wealth. So wealth is also created based upon bhava. So when you say you want money, somebody could be wanting money to buy ice cream. Somebody could be wanting to buy money to buy a car. So the bhava is getting energized because of a hora, a desire for wealth, a desire for values. So hora and bhavas are interlinked. So the brain is now, this whole concept of Bhava Lagna, the circular motion, life goes around in circles and circles. You buy a car, use it for some time, the circle is complete, you throw the car and then you buy a new car. That way you are completing circles. The completion of a circle leads to the old one going away and the new one coming. By the replacement, everything that is old must go and everything that is new must come again. That is how human beings who grow old must die, and then we have new babies coming to replace them. This whole concept, hora, it's the Bhava Hora concept. Hora is about feeding. It's about giving you food for sustenance. How long can the bhava be sustained by the hora? These are all circular motions. And that is why these are called special ascendants, and we'll be learning about special ascendants later. Now, actual Lagna time for a sign varies based on the latitude. Now, the moment you go away from the equator, the time taken starts stretching. The ellipse becomes more distorted. Somebody standing in the North Pole would have a completely, totally distorted ellipse. His vision, like for example, it would take, sometimes it will seem as if some signs are ascending at a very rapid pace, at a super speed, and some signs are taking ages. So the stretch becomes much more as we go to higher latitude. In a lower latitude, like the equator, it's more evenly balanced. And this is bound to create an impact on the thinking. And this impact on the thinking will require that we create different kinds of bhavas to understand how is it that somebody who's living near the North Pole is going to think very differently from somebody who's living near the equator. You will say, oh yes, somebody living in the North Pole has to think more about the cold, so he loves the sun. Somebody living on the equator will always be wanting to get cold because it's very hot, so he's thinking about the cold season as good. But that is relative. That again is caused only by one factor, and that is the sun. The bhava takes multiple such factors into account. Okay, next. Since sun is a graha because of its apparent motion, what is apparent motion? See, when we say that the sun is a graha, we did this in the last class, that the sun is a graha because the sun goes around the earth. But in reality, the sun does not go around the earth. The definition of a graha by Parashara is that when we look at the sky, there are some lights which are stationary and some that are moving. That which moves is a graha. So the condition for the definition of any planetary body, any body in the sky as a graha is one that must move. If it does not move, it is not graha. And the naked eye should be able to see this motion, should be able to perceive this motion. Even with the finest eyesight and maybe with the finest focus, some people may just about be able to see a little bit of Saturn. Can human beings see Saturn nowadays? Are you all with me?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Please check on this. I want to know whether human beings can see Saturn with the naked eye.
I believe so, yes.
Good. Good. So up to the planet Saturn, the human being can see the planet with the naked eye.
Yes. Yes.
Beyond Saturn, it's not possible for us to see the planet with the naked eye. So remember, we come back to Parashara's definition of a graha. The definition of a graha is one that when we look at the sky, we should be able to see it moving. If we don't see it moving, it's not a graha. So naturally, by this definition, at least by sight, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, they won't fit into it because we can't see them. Do you see that? That is the first basic definition of a graha. Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, they are beyond sight. There is a nice saying, out of sight, out of mind. Have you heard of that? So think of it like that. These planets are beyond our sight. So obviously they can't affect us. They are too far to affect us. By the same definition, is the sun a graha? The sun can be a graha only if we can see the sun moving in the sky. We see the sun moving in the sky, so it is a graha. But then it is the apparent motion. This definition of the sun as a, if we do not consider the apparent motion of the sun, then the sun is not a graha. So if the sun has to be called a graha, we have to accept that it has an apparent motion, and it is this apparent motion that causes its definition. So when we come to defining sunrise, what is sunrise then? Sunrise must be the apparent visibility of the sun. It cannot be the real visibility. Because the real visibility is not what we are considering. It is the time when the sunlight is visible to me. So naturally, I must take refraction, atmospheric refraction and the other calculations into account. This is going to make a 5-minute difference, in sunrise. That's the reason why when we talk of Jyotish, we are talking of everything that is affecting life on earth. If it doesn't affect life on earth, we are not interested. So, this one point that Parashara made about visibility of the planets is what is also causing us to look at the apparent motion of the sun. It is also telling us that we need to see apparent or the first visibility of the tip of the sun for the definition of sunrise. What appears as rising on planet Earth is what matters to life on Earth. Okay. Any questions on this so far? If we are good, then I'll go to the next slide.